Team Dark. Now, if there was going to be a team in this game that found the superpower of teamwork overrated, it would be them, right? Comprised of a brooding hedgehog in search of his memory, a kleptomaniac Batgirl interested in Eggman's secret treasure, and a robot that just wants to find and do unspeakable things to Eggman and his inferior robots. If there's one group in this game that would join me in the pursuit of completing this challenge without teamwork, it has to be them. For those who are new, my previous videos asked the question if it's possible to beat Sonic Heroes using only one character per level. This format gave me some leeway when it came to the different levels, and allowed me to show off some fun tricks and glitches with each of the characters. The only rule for this challenge is that we have to beat each stage without using multiple characters, meaning melee attacks and team blasts are allowed for this playthrough. Team Sonic was mostly possible, with the exceptions of Hang Castle and Bullet Station. And Team Chaotix came very close, with the only roadblock being Mystic Mansion. Now, in order to beat some of these levels without swapping, some really crazy glitches, speedrunning tech, and out-of-the-box thinking were needed. That and a lot of patience. However, nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the gauntlet that was the Team Dark Teamless Challenge. Without spoiling too much, I want to say that after a month straight of hard work and determination, I've put together a run that will push this game to its absolute limits, and my brain to the brink of insanity. Without further ado, let's get on with the challenge. Seaside Hill, like with the other teams, is a walk in the park. Going with our boy Shadow here, the only major things to watch out for are these character swapping gates. They throw one at you near the very beginning, but if you just hold forward, you can make it over without being forced to swap. First thing we're gonna do is grab this extra life, cause we'll definitely need a lot. Okay, maybe we shouldn't grab another one. This section surprisingly has a path designed for Shadow, making it even easier than the other teams. Just use the wacky momentum on these slanted walls to get enough height, and it's a straight shot. Before the bobsled section, there's some tricky platforming, but nothing a tornado jump and a little speed can't get past. Once you're past the bobsled, just use some well-timed kick jumps against these slanted walls to make it to the next section. The beach area can be traversed as any character, but the end can be tricky as Shadow. Kill the egg pond to raise these columns, and kick jump against the wall to get high enough to proceed. Or you could just backtrack up the cliff for a slower but easier route. The next section just requires a couple well-timed tornado jumps to reach the side railing, and then it's pretty much a straight shot to the end. Have some fun with a little egg pond bowling, and make your way to the end of the level, making Seaside Hill easily beatable as Shadow only. Ocean Palace poses a little bit more of a challenge, having us break these rock walls with the power formation to proceed. With Team Chaotix, you could abuse the infinite flight glitch to get over these walls, but with Team Dark, we have no choice but to find a way to the end as Omega only. The first section is slow, but pretty easy, giving us all we need to reach the next areas. Once we come up on this part with the checkerboard grass, there's a little bit of a challenge. With the other teams, they give you a spring on the left-hand side that takes you up, but here, it's gone. It seems possible to jump off this structure, but Omega just barely doesn't reach the dash ring. I attempted this a number of times, trying to get a good running start to... Oh, okay, sure. If you use the added speed from the fan and jump at the very edge of the rock structure, you can just barely make it high enough to the dash ring. It's tricky, but doable. Honestly, from here, the rest of the level's a breeze. It's mostly designed around Omega, and the turtle section even has a route completely planned for him with these cannons and fans. The section leading up to the end is just a series of more fans and springs, so all that leaves us with is the rock chase segment. Just like with the other teams, this part's meant for the speed characters. Thankfully, with some luck, the rocks will feel bad and slow down so you can get ahead. If you make it past the loop, you're mostly in the clear. I did almost die near the end, but thankfully they showed me some mercy and I was able to reach the goal. This makes Ocean Palace a little difficult, but totally doable as Omega only. Considering these bosses are pretty much identical between the different teams, instead of just spamming him with the power character, let's play a fun little game of the floor is lava with Shadow. You can just spam the homing attack repeatedly without ever touching the ground. It's slow and boring as all hell, but it gets the job done. This is how Heroes haters play the game. With a little patience, he goes down without a challenge, giving us a... B rank? No, rewind that.
Huh?
I knew it! Sonic Heroes, why play with my emotions like that? Grand Metropolis is another level that was built for the speed character, and because there isn't much of a challenge to discuss, I want to appreciate the design for Team Dark here. This level shows off just how many added platforming challenges, tricks, and shortcuts there are for this team, and I'm here for it. It really does make you feel like a badass to pull off some of these trick jumps. Shadow, you're embarrassing me. Because this level's almost completely built around Shadow's moveset, it's basically a straight shot to the end with very few roadblocks. Just jump high enough to triangle jump over the swap gate, and that's about it. Team Dark has a new section near the end that poses a little bit of a challenge, but it's really nothing crazy. My god, this game is gorgeous. Just carry your momentum with Shadow's jumps and you'll be fine. After that, it's a straight away to the goal, making Grand Metropolis easily beatable as Shadow only. I promised I'd try to spice things up for this challenge, so instead of using the flight character for Power Plant, let's get it done with Shadow. I'd like to give Omega some love here, but he unfortunately can't beat this level on his own.
Well, that's a load off my back.
Using Shadow, you'll have to rely a lot on momentum jumps, tornado jumps, and some very questionable collision. Some of these rooms require Rouge to fly up to the next section, but thankfully many of them have ramps leading up to them. Just jump on the edge of these curves to get some insane height. Pair this height with a tornado jump and you can scale most of these sections without a challenge. These ramps are your best friend, as your momentum carries over depending on your speed and the angle you jump from. Just rinse and repeat, followed by these elevator sections. The first one gives you dash rings that let you skip it entirely with some good timing, and the second one gives you a chance with these light dash chains. This is one of many reasons I actually prefer Team Dark's levels. But finally, we reach the section you've all been waiting for. The flight character is pretty much a necessity for the rising lava section, but I have a feeling Shadow can handle it on his own. At first, you won't have the height to reach these upper platforms with a tornado jump, so you're gonna have to take some damage from the lava, which sends you shooting straight up. You'll have to do this at least 2 times, so make sure to grab rings when you can. The second time around, you won't have the chance to grab any more rings, so be super careful to move quickly and not take any more damage. Take out the enemies, use your tornado to reach these pulleys, and finally, one last tornado jump to hit the spring. Lastly, take out the final enemies to make it to the goal ring, making Power Plant scary as hell, but totally doable as Shadow only. At this point, y'all know the drill with these team battles. The tornado reigns supreme, taking them out in under 20 seconds. Also, Vector, watch your language around Rouge. KKO's gonna lose his cool.
Just what do you think you're doing here?
Who's this broad?
Whoa. Hold on, big pal. Hold on. What are you doing? You talking to my girl like that? Hey, yo, you trying to pick a fight? Let's go, broski. Come on. My hand's rated E for everyone, pal.
Oh boy. Casino Park. This was a royal pain in the ass with Team Sonic, as you needed Knuckles to break these glass panels, but also needed Tails to reach these switches. That meant we had to get creative with Sonic, spamming his tornado until we finally clipped through the glass, and using the frame-perfect lightspeed glitch to pass over this building. Well, Team Dark doesn't have the lightspeed attack, so that means no lightspeed glitch. With Shadow, we can still clip through this panel after a few minutes of attempts, but instead of there being springs that take you up here, there's a floating dice block. Shadow can't reach this on his own, so we need to be creative with our surroundings. You can technically abuse the collision by dashing into the side as it's moving, just like in Power Plant, but it's really finicky. Luckily, you can use the slight curve of this metal palm tree to get some extra height. It's really precise, having us kick slide on this narrow ledge and jumping at the perfect angle to just barely make it high enough. Once up top, just kill the turtles, and then we have to perform the same tricky jump we did with Team Sonic. This trick required a perfect rocket accel setup, into a kick slide, then jumping out of the kick in midair before performing a tornado jump, and just barely reaching the roulette table. So we gotta do the same thing with Team Dark, which shouldn't be an issue, and... oh. Okay then. So, for reasons I can't confidently explain, the rocket accel is extremely unreliable with Team Dark. During normal gameplay it works just fine, but when trying to do it in small areas, it just doesn't work nearly as often as with Team Sonic. This will be a major issue in a later level, but it's also annoying here. Every time it doesn't work, we fall off and die, which means we have to do the same palm tree jump again. I kid you not, this took me over 30 minutes trying to scale this wall, killing the turtles, and then failing to rocket accel jump over and over and over again. Little did I know, this would be foreshadowing to just how ruthless this challenge was going to be as Team Dark. Finally, we just barely got enough distance to make it over, using the light dash on this one ring to make it to the table. But that was just the beginning. We come up on this building, requiring Rouge to pull these switches. Shadow can't pull them, but in Team Sonic's version, we use the lightspeed glitch to get over the building. Maybe if we can clip through the door, we'll be okay. So after a few attempts, we actually do make it through and... oh, God no. Rouge, this is not the time or the place for that. So, unlike the glass panel from earlier, this one's in a different position. That seems insignificant, but when Shadow performs the tornado attack, where he exits the move depends on which way you're facing in the level. In the first glass panel, Shadow exited the move closer to the corner, making the clip much more reliable. Here, he exits on the left, meaning you're pretty far from the corner when you need to air dash. Trust me, I tried performing it on the left side, but for some reason the collision only breaks when it's on the right side. I sat here for 30 minutes, yes, 30 minutes again, listening to this on repeat.
Switch camera 2 meters monitor with C-stick. Switch camera 2 meters monitor with C-stick. Switch camera 2 liters monitor with C-stick. Switch camera 2 liters monitor with C-stick.
My thumb was killing me by the end of this, and I was nearly convinced this clip was impossible here. Thankfully, I must have won the lottery with my setup and just barely made it through. This is where things get scary. If one of these robots catches you, you'll automatically swap to another character, so we absolutely can't let that happen. Another scary thing is, the only way to reach the next platform is to bounce off the top of one of these robots and perform Shadow's tornado to get enough height. If there's still an enemy below, the tornado will lock onto them, so that means we have to kill the other enemies first, then leave one of these guys left. We have one shot to kill him and then use the tornado to make it up. If we screwed up any of that sequence, we'd have to do the glass clip all over again. My palms have never sweat so much playing a video game. Obviously, reaching the next checkpoint, I needed a little breather. Thankfully, the worst of it is over. On the next table, we have to hit this switch at the top to open the VIP section and... okay, never mind. So, because we didn't hit the switch, we need to clip through the lasers. It's tricky, but it can be done. Once we get to the upper path, we just need to Rocket Excel jump through the middle of this building and... oh, yeah, that's right. God, I don't know why the Rocket Excel sucks so much with this team. Okay, trying it one more time, we actually make it and land on the table below, where it's just a straight shot to the goal. Finally, this means that Casino Park... excuse me? This means that Casino Park is an absolute nightmare, but is beatable as Shadow only. Unfortunately, this run is going as expected, as Shadow doesn't have some of the glitches that Sonic does, so while the movement is similar, some of these routes will be much, much harder and more tedious. Now we can move on to... Bingo Highway. Casino Park tested my patience quite a lot, but nothing could prepare me for this level. At first, I thought it'd be a simple clear with Omega. I mean, Knuckles was able to get through this stage very easily, and the power characters needed in multiple sections to glide on these fans and break these floor panels. Using Omega all seemed normal until this platform. Instead of the dice blocks, they give Shadow a light dash chain. Using Omega, the bottom path is impossible, as Rouge is needed to pull this lever, and even stopping the spinning die with a Team Blast won't allow Omega to reach it. That means our only option is finding a way to cross this gap from earlier. Well, this bumper shoots you straight upward and makes you lose all forward momentum, meaning Omega couldn't possibly glide far enough with the extra height to reach. Our best bet is a running start, but even at full speed it doesn't come close. I thought maybe with some added speed bouncing from the spring, I could land on the razor-thin railing and jump at the last second to get enough distance. After dozens of attempts, even with perfect execution, it doesn't come close. Without Sonic's lightspeed glitch, Shadow can't scale these vertical fan sections at the beginning or break the panels, and without Charmy's flight reset glitch, there's no way Rouge can make it high enough either. That leaves us with one last option. A little disclaimer, I hate the PC port of Heroes. Of course, it is great for modding, but the physics in this version are god-awful, as is the collision. There's loads more bugs in this than the GameCube version, and the team battles are broken as all hell. The audio mixing is also SA2 battle levels of bad.
Time to attack. He must be using the Chaos Emerald to warp Shadow.
However, if I want to have a chance at beating this level, we need to mess around with the broken physics on this version. There is a trick you can perform called the Super Glide, which allows power characters to scale huge gaps, but it only works on nearly vertical ramps, and there's none of those around here. There's also a trick dubbed the Ultimate Afterburner Kick, where kick sliding just before jumping into a vertical wall can send you flying upwards. This trick is extremely precise and only works on certain walls. When I tell you I spent over an hour trying to UABK off this wall to reach the top, I'd be lying, because I actually spent 2 hours doing this. The biggest issue is the power formation sign is right in our way, so we have to run on the slanted side of this tunnel to avoid it. The only times I got remotely close were when I'd turn at the last second, kick up the slanted edge, and jump just before hitting the wall. Even my best attempts didn't get me high enough to even see the top, and attempting this trick over and over again on a narrow platform meant I'd be dying a lot. It became clear this wasn't going to work after a while, but I wasn't done yet. If you go inside the tunnel, there's a fan at the end that prevents Shadow from running by blowing him in the air, so that means we can't really attempt the trick in here. Unless we use a Team Blast. For a very small window, time will freeze when your Team Blast meter's cooling down. This will stop the fan from blowing you up, and lets you run on top of it. That means that we have about 2 attempts at this trick before the fan starts blowing again, and we have to slowly build another Team Blast again. Doing this inside the tunnel gave us a much better area to get a running start, and try this trick without the possibility of dying. Of course, just doing a kick slide before hitting the wall wouldn't be enough speed to reach the top, so this is my chance to introduce you to... the Super Duper Rocket Excel Kick Slide Wall Jump 3000! Brought to you by Not a Sonic Channel.
You suck!
Okay, I'll leave the cool movement naming up to the speedrunners. Using the SDRAKWJ3000, we actually get just enough height to see the other side, but we'd still have to reach the top of this tunnel. Bear in mind, this trick is pretty damn precise, requires a perfectly executed Rocket Excel, and a perfectly timed jump at the right spot. We get 1, maybe 2 attempts at max before this Team Blast meter cools, and we'd have to slowly build another Team Blast to try it again. Also bear in mind that while the meter's cooling down, time is frozen, so the timer at the top doesn't even portray just how long I spent attempting this trick. Finally, I was able to reach the top and get myself about 1% further into the level, before encountering challenge number 2. This building. Shadow can't break the glass to reach the next table, and these buildings are extremely tall. There's invisible walls surrounding them too, so no shot at clipping through or jumping around them. I was able to find one little angle that the UABK would work on, but of course, we need a lot more height to scale these buildings. A perfectly executed SDRAKWJ3000, and we can barely make it up to the invisible roof at the top. Just jump over to the other side and we finally made it to the same section from earlier. With Shadow, this section's a cakewalk. In here with the floating dice, just use your tornado to lock onto the higher up enemies and you'll be fine. It was all a breeze until... oh goody, another tunnel. Yes, you'll have to perform this tunnel skip trick twice in this level. Thankfully, this one didn't take as long as before. You'll also have to perform the trick yet again to get over this wall, cause I really don't feel like clipping through those glass panels ever again. From here, it's a straight shot all the way down to this section. Now, this sucks. You're meant to hit this panel with Omega to reach the other side, and the only alternate route is just a lower panel. With Team Sonic, you could technically make this jump with your light speed attack, as it would lock onto the nearby enemies, but Team Dark is not so lucky. You know what? It doesn't matter how long this takes, I will never give up the fight. I give up. Not because I'm sick of trying, believe me, I was already sick of trying in Casino Park, but just because there's no way to do this. Shadow, even with a perfect setup, can't lock onto the enemies above with a tornado attack, and there's no vertical walls nearby to reach the top of this building, which I should mention is way too big. You can jump off these pillars, but there's no chance of reaching the top of this building, and there's invisible walls that stop you from clipping through as well. If there were a ramp, or another rooftop, or really anything, then this could be possible. As it is, Bingo Highway just made me crawl through burning hot coal just to spit in my face at the very end. If this jump were possible, we'd actually be able to beat the level no problem. But unfortunately, after all our hard work, Bingo Highway is just barely not possible without swapping characters. Robot Carnival is a boss that can be beat easily with any character, as a Team Blast can take out any enemies that Rouge or Shadow couldn't kill on their own. But because Omega's amazing, and we haven't seen him in action much, he can take the wheel here. Thankfully, they placed a spring here, so you can get high enough to kill the flying enemies. As mentioned before, the level up system fails us in these bosses, as the enemies only drop level ups for the characters you're not playing as, meaning we can't level up Omega at all here. A bit slow and tedious, but nothing compared to the next gauntlet. We'll get there eventually. For Team Dark, Rail Canyon actually starts before Team Sonic's version, with an extra rail grinding section between these canyons. I love this area, especially being able to jump over to the background rails. Because this entire section is just grinding, there's no swapping necessary. And look, even more trick jumps for Team Dark. Just like with Team Sonic, most of this level is a breeze with the speed character. I said most. A majority of the level is specifically designed around Shadow with these tornado poles, homing attack chains, and plethora of grind rails. And again, just like with Team Sonic, there's practically no issues until we get to this section. Now, this has to be impossible, right? With Team Sonic, it took me forever to make it high enough using the light speed glitch. Without that, there's just no way Shadow could make it up there. Well, I did find something, but it's a long shot. If you rocket excel directly into the side of this platform and jump just before hitting the edge, you'll get a lot of height. The timing for this jump is really strict, and the angle needs to be perfect. Setting it up so we jump off the edge facing the rails, if you get the angle just right, it's still not even close. So, what's the biggest problem we have here? That's right, Team Dark's Rocket Excel is extremely unreliable. You need the perfect camera angle, perfect alignment, perfect timing, and most importantly, perfect speed for this jump to even be remotely possible. It's also really likely to die here, so the in-game timer doesn't do it justice. I spent over a full hour attempting this trick, and just when I was about to give up, this happened. Yeah, there's no chance I'm doing that again. I made sure to be extremely careful here before hitting the next checkpoint, because that trick was once in a lifetime. I thought it was bad with Team Sonic, but I didn't realize patience until I started this challenge with Team Dark. This and the Casino Park clips easily beat out anything I had to do for Team Sonic. Or hell, even flying across the map in Team Chaotix. This was rough. Thankfully, it's a straight shot to the end after that, and honestly, I think I'm numb to any challenges going forward. Or so I thought. This, of course, makes Rail Canyon possible as Shadow only, though I would never wish it on my worst enemy. Oh, Bullet Station. Must say,
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Because we know for sure that Omega's needed to punch the core at the end of the train segments, let's try it with him. The beginning asks you to use Shadow to swing on this tornado pole, but with a running start, you can just barely make this jump with Omega. Omega, please don't die. Arrive at this cannon to shoot to Team Sonic's starting section, and carry on mostly without a problem. Just take out the trains and then move on to this run-ending section. This tornado pole killed the run for Team Sonic and Team Chaotix. Well, kind of. No amount of creativity was able to beat this level, aside from the lovely PC port. Despite showing it off for Bingo Highway, I actually recorded those bits well after my initial run, so I only had the GameCube version when going through Bullet Station. So, what did I do? In my bid to prove that the superpower of teamwork is overrated, I reached back out to the GOAT Lummy to help me with this level. Together, we could work as a... what's the word? duo to see if these levels are possible. For those who didn't see the previous video, Lummy, like me, is someone who knows a little too much about this game and has harnessed that knowledge for challenges just like this. You might remember their gameplay from Nathaniel Bandy's video. So, let's see what Lummy's got. Starting off with Omega again, they used the same jump to reach the rail across the gap. Of course, they did a better job than I did. Nothing too crazy at first, but once we reach the Team Sonic portion, we get a teaser for what's to come. Just look at that glide. Again, take out the train and arrive at this section again. Instead of stopping at the tornado pole like a loser, the Chad Lummy does a perfect super glide and reaches all the way to the cannon room. Luckily, there's no collision on top of this room, so you can just fall right down inside. Now, a bit later in the stage, there's a section that can only be traversed with Shadow's Lightspeed Dash. I kinda figured this would be the end of the run, as there didn't seem to be any areas to get a super glide to skip it. Of course, Lummy achieved the impossible and was able to perform a nearly frame-perfect jump off this rail and glide to the other side. I want to stress just how difficult this trick is. These rails function so that if you're tilting the analog stick, a jump will slide you left or right to serve as a rail swapping mechanic instead of an actual jump. That means to jump off these rails, you either have to be holding the exact direction of the rail you're on, or let go of the stick completely. So, as soon as Lummy hits the launcher, they immediately jump, then glide while they still have the added momentum, aim at the side of this canyon to get extra height, and then steer themselves to just barely land on the platform. This might be the most impressive thing I've seen in this game, and I've been watching speedrunners for years now. While this trick should put Lummy in the Heroes Hall of Fame, unfortunately Team Dark is a cruel, cruel mistress. Once in the next train segment, there's a tornado pole that completely blocks our way. If there were a slight incline anywhere, or if Omega had the belly flop move from Team Chaotix or Rose, this jump would be doable, but like all things in life, sometimes you do everything in your power and Sonic Heroes still finds a way to torture you. To be clear, this is my favorite game of all time, but the relationship has always been a toxic one. Again, huge shoutouts to Lummy for helping me out with this challenge, and while this level's still impossible, that super glide is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Be sure to check out their channel if you haven't already. Just like with the Egg Hawk, let's play a little game of The Floor is Lava. This homing attack method is the way that I see a lot of people fight this boss, and it feels like the safest strategy. Only issue is, it's slow as hell. I still prefer the wait for him to come to you method, but this one works just fine too. Frog Forest was a level that was pretty easily beaten with Sonic only, as he was needed for the flowers that take you to the different sections of the level. But with the Chaotix, there were some platforming sections that Espio couldn't quite reach. Thankfully, we could abuse the infinite flight glitch with Charmy. With Team Dark, we won't be so lucky with Rouge, so it's looking like Shadow or bust. Let's just hope it's not too much harder than Team Sonic's version. The start is pretty simple, basically a straight shot, grinding this vine, interacting with this frog, and making some risky jumps across these gaps. Thankfully, with Team Dark, it's basically the same as Team Sonic's control scheme, so we have a lot more leeway thanks to the kick slide and tornado jump. For anyone who thinks this game is too slippery, this level is going to be a nightmare for you with Shadow only. There's a lot of tiny platforms with enemies ready to knock you off and some really tight platforming. Guys? Nothing really stood in our way until we got to this section. With Team Sonic, there's a bottom and a top path, each with a flower that take you across the gap to this giant mushroom. If you manage to take the top flower, you'd be dropped off to a higher path, which is super important for this challenge. The bottom path ends with this panel, needing to be punched by the power character to shoot you up to the upper path. With Team Dark, this panel's still here, but the top flower is no longer an intended path. The only possible way to reach it is to bounce off this fruit, maneuver to the other side of this vine, do the tornado jump, and pray to Solaris that your air dash reaches this platform. If you miss, you'll have to die and go all the way back to the previous checkpoint. Once on the platform, you'll have to perform a strong rocket accel jump to the other side. Thanks to Team Dark having a finicky rocket accel, this can be tricky, but totally doable. The flower still drops you off at the top path despite it being an unintended route, and allows us to skip the mandatory character swap on the lower path. After that, it's a clear shot to the end, making Frog Forest possible as Shadow only. Yet again, because of these flowers, Lost Jungle would have to be a Shadow-only challenge. The level starts with a helmeted enemy, and unlike with Team Sonic, you have to kill this one to progress. That means some sketchy kicking with Shadow, trying not to get hit or slide off the platform until your Team Blast gauge is full. After that, make a tricky jump with your tornado to reach the top of this climb. You can technically make the climb with Shadow, but it's a pain in the ass. Same goes for the second climb. You can technically take the intended path, or you can rocket accel jump off this slope to skip a huge chunk of it. That won't stop us from facing this next section, however. You need the tornado to get enough height to reach the next platform, but your tornado will also lock on to any nearby enemies. Someone at Sega felt like being cruel and placed these 3 enemies under the platform above a death pit. Thankfully, we can instead abuse the collision on this tree to gain some extra height and skip having to deal with the enemies. Same goes for the next platforms. Just find the right angle and jump against the tree to barely reach the next area. You'll have to do it again off this tiny platform, which is a bit more risky but still doable. If it weren't for Shadow's complex moveset and this game's questionable collision, we definitely wouldn't have made it this far. From here, it's nothing crazy. Just knock out the enemies, swing from these vines, and make your way to the next flower. Unfortunately, this enemy can't be killed with Shadow, so you'll have to build up a Team Blast just to knock out this one robot. Like I said, the tornado locks onto nearby enemies, so you can't use it for extra height here. What really sucks is, now our Team Blast gauge is empty, and we're coming up on another huge combat section. Just slide around for another minute or so, and then Team Blast these enemies to progress. Once you reach this open section, you can progress from the lower path, or actually make your way to the top path with some well-timed kicks and tornado jumps. At this point, I'm just showing off, but it's a lot of fun taking this top path. After that, we need to climb this tree. Luckily, we can abuse the collision here to make jumps that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. And one more time, building a Team Blast with a slippery character on a thin-ass platform and climb your way to the top of this tree. Just like with Team Sonic, we'll be jumping off the side of this tree to reach the top path, and after that, it's a cakewalk. Just grind your way down to the alligator chase and make your way to the goal, making Lost Jungle with the superpower of janky collision possible as Shadow only. Unfortunately, since we can't perform the belly flop with Team Dark, there's not going to be a funny 2-second fight. But don't worry, we can do it again once we get to Team Rose. Just another spam to win with the tornado, and we can move on to the biggest headache in the entire challenge. The next 3 levels have been a monumental test of my patience, and as of writing this part of the script, I still haven't found a way to complete them. Let's see if that's changed by now. I mean, obviously I know the answer at the time of recording this, but I don't want to spoil it. Okay, Hang Castle, give me all you got. We weren't able to beat this level with Team Sonic, but with Team Chaotix and the power of Jank, we got our revenge. Team Dark's is pretty identical to Team Sonic's, but with some slight differences that completely changed the course of our run. The start's nothing crazy, just tornado jump to reach this higher platform and light dash to the next altar. Here, the lower route to open this door is easily beatable with Shadow, but you could also clip through the door if you're feeling impatient. Speaking of door clips, after this platforming section that you can skip with a well-timed jump, there's a door that can't be opened without pulling a switch inside this wall. Only Omega could break this wall, and while Team Sonic's Team Blast can break them, Team Dark's doesn't. Our only option is to clip through this door. Unlike the door from earlier, there's really not much room here to build a rocket accel or get a running start. These annoying ghosts keep popping up and these flames keep taking out your teammates, making the rocket accel damn near impossible. After so many attempts, I got fed up and just kept spamming the rocket accel at the edge of the door. Somehow, one of them pushed me far enough through to be able to light dash on the rings ahead, letting me completely pass through. This part's no big deal, just taking out the enemies and flipping the castle again. If you stay in the jump ball while hitting the switch, you can air dash into the side of the castle and skip the climb. This next room is where Team Sonic was stopped. There's a switch that can only be pulled with tails, and even standing on top of the wooden crates wouldn't allow Sonic to pull it. Thankfully, with Team Dark, there's just a button that makes the light dash appear. I was feeling pretty confident now since the end of the level was super close, but of course, Team Dark has to throw us a curveball at the very end of the level. This area requires Shadow to swing on these tornado poles to reach the other side, but first, you have to flip the castle upside down. To reach the altar, you have to flick this target switch with Rouge's Thundershoot. If you get too close, the target spins and you won't be able to hit it. I tried to clip into the side of this crate with the same method I used for the door clip, and while I'm able to get far enough inside to touch the altar, it just doesn't activate unless the crate opens. Okay, well, those tornado poles are close enough for me to reach without flipping the castle, so maybe they'll still take me to the other side. Just rocket accel jump over to the first one, and no. While the tornado pole does function, it doesn't toss you to the next one and you're stuck, unable to perform the move again. It was right then that I sat there, staring at the Eggman statue, knowing that if I could just make it to the other side, I could probably still beat the level. He stared back at me, taunting me. It was him all along. Eggman's the one who created these areas. He's the one who keeps putting roadblocks at the end of every Team Dark level. I wasn't gonna go down without a fight. I'll show that creep the real superpower of task delegation. There's 2 fun facts about these poles that may just help us out here. One is, a level 3 speed type can homing attack them without having to perform the tornado attack. And 2 is, you can jump off these poles prematurely so they don't fling you off. One last thing is, you can only perform 1 tornado attack once you're off the ground. If I were to somehow jump from each pole to the next, then jump off the final one, and finally use a tornado jump to get some extra distance, I might be able to reach the vile Eggman statue. Now, for this to work, Shadow has to be level 3, and if I die, that would mean I'd have to restart the entire level all over again to get him 3 power-ups before getting back here. I have never used save states for these challenges, and while I'd like to tell you it's because I'm dedicated to my craft, which I am, it's also because I couldn't be bothered to learn how to do it. Well, I figured it out for this, because I wasn't about to play through this entire level every time I needed to attempt this trick again. Of course, if it ends up being possible, I will restart and complete the whole level without save states. I managed to get a perfect rocket accel jump just far enough to reach the first pole with an air dash, then jumped at the perfect angle to barely make it to the next. Rinse and repeat, saving my progress every time I made it to the next pole, and finally reaching the last one. From here, I'd keep jumping till I ended up at the right angle and right speed to get as far as I could before using my saved up tornado attack, holding the jump button for extra height, and no. Even with enough distance to reach the statue, there's no collision for it when it's upside down. This means the only way to beat the level is if you're able to flip the area upside down before reaching this part. Oh, and getting this trick to work wasn't a walk in the park either. This is what I didn't show you. Just add Hang Castle to the list of levels I spent multiple hours grinding out just to be stopped in my tracks at the very end. Team Dark, of all teams, the stoic, introverted Dark Hedgehog, the government spy Jewel Thief Bat, and the literal bloodthirsty robot seem to value their teammates' abilities even more than the teams whose songs are literally called We Can and Team Chaotix. Okay, let's move on to Mystic Mansion. This level was only possible as Team Sonic because of the Lightspeed glitch, and was immediately impossible with Team Chaotix. With Team Dark, you have to flick a target switch in this first room to open the door, so Rouge is our girl here. With Rouge, it's just a matter of doing 1,000 Team Blasts to kill the enemies and slowly making your way through the level. Seriously, a cakewalk up until this section. With Team Sonic, a Team Blast would break these walls, and the Lightspeed attack could reach the enemy in this door above, meaning we wouldn't have to swap to Knuckles. Here, the Team Blast doesn't break the walls, and in the next room there's a fan that you need to glide on to reach the next area. Since Omega is absolutely needed for this section, and Omega can't hit the target switch, clip through doors, or really reach any of the higher platforms, this level's another dud. What really kills me is that I've worked harder routing this team for this challenge than the other two teams combined, and while so much progress was made, so many of the levels are straight up impossible, no matter what version of the game or what glitches you use. Hopefully, we can have some luck with the final levels. But first, Robot Storm with Team Dark in this challenge pissed me off. I'll tell you why. Just like with the previous teams, there's this cannon that's meant to shoot you to the next part of the level. With speed or flight formation, it does its job, but with power formation, it just shoots you a couple feet to grab some rings, where you'll promptly be shot back to the platform to swap characters and try again. Yes, you can aim left or right in this formation, but the cannon won't shoot you all the way to the next area. That means we can only use Shadow or Rouge. No big deal, right? Well, if we could get them to level 2 or higher, it would be a cakewalk. I mean, we can still use the Team Blast for the bigger enemies, so what's the issue? Well, like I said, the game's level up system is odd. You can only obtain level ups for the characters you're not playing as, meaning that if you're playing as Shadow, only Omega and Rouge get power-ups, and vice versa. Considering the Flight character can only stun and not damage enemies with their level 0 Thundershoot, it seems that Shadow's our best option here. Only one problem. Team Dark's version of this fight has a lot of enemies with shields, and a lot of enemies that can only be killed with the power formation. So not only are you constantly getting hit by the onslaught of enemies and being thrown off the platform, but you also have to build a Team Blast with Shadow's slippery moveset while the enemies are actively trying to hit you. If you take damage near the edge of the platform, you're almost guaranteed to fall off. Yes, you can jump out of a hit stun and use the tornado to save yourself, but the timing needs to be perfect, and sometimes the tornado locks onto another enemy that just knocks you off again, this time with no option to save yourself. I spent... let's see how long this recording is. Oh, over an hour on this boss fight that I knew was possible. Two things made this easier as Team Sonic. One was that the enemies weren't nearly as abundant or strong, and the other is, with their Team Blast, Sonic has the Lightspeed attack, so you could one-shot any enemy while the meter was cooling down. That really helped when there would be 2 waves of armored robots back to back. I can't believe I'm putting myself in a position to be told skill issue with Sonic heroes, but even though this fight is doable, it gave me so much trouble. So much trouble, I gave up and opted to complete it with Rouge. At least with her, I could save myself from falling off the level. It just meant I either had to jump on the enemies' heads, doing 1 damage with each bonk, or Thundershoot like a maniac to build a Team Blast. Might be slow as hell, but at least I'm not getting constantly knocked off the level. Yes, this fight took 11.5 minutes using this method. Good lord. Egg Fleet was a stage that seemed impossible with Team Sonic at first, and it was all due to this gliding section halfway through. The only saving grace is being able to use the Lightspeed glitch to lock onto the cannons at the top with Sonic. Not much confidence going in with Team Dark, but let's see what we can do. The first thing that happens in Team Dark's version is a huge slap in the face to this challenge, with a tornado pole that can only be activated by hitting this target switch with Rouge. For a while, it seemed like Team Dark's Team Blast wouldn't have any special use for this challenge, but finally I can show this off. This Team Blast freezes time, which is super beneficial for saving time and damaging bosses without dealing with any incoming attacks. I hear a lot of people complain about not being able to progress until time resumes when the cooldown meter ends. Sometimes doors will automatically open after a Team Blast, but a lot of the time they won't, which is a little annoying. Thankfully, you can actually cut the time stop short by pressing the Team Blast button again during the cooldown. That's my hero's fun fact of the day. Anyway, it wouldn't be a hero's mechanic without a little bit of jank. While time is stopped, tornado poles can be used even when they're not activated. For every problem Sonic Heroes causes, it always gives an obscure solution. This is my drawn-out, convoluted way of saying, use a Team Blast and swing up the pole without activating it. Ta-da! You'll have to make a tricky jump off this rail to reach the next platform and just hop across to the other side. Then we come up on the first propeller segment, the reason that this level can't be traversed with anyone but Shadow. Landing on the first battleship, just time your lightspeed dashes carefully to reach the upper platforms and take advantage of your tornado jump to reach the top. That's one ship down, one to go. Be careful over this fan section, as once you fall, you won't be able to make your way back up. Thankfully, they placed this lightspeed dash just below the platform that takes you to the next rail. Oh boy, here it is. This vertical fan section seems hopeless as Shadow, but we'll sure as hell give it our best. The first thing I want to do is get over to these cannons on this floating platform. Shadow's tornado will lock on to nearby cannons, but these are a little too far to reach normally. When you first enter the section, you can actually see the platform slowly rising from the left side. Here's a tricky but surefire way to reach it. Land on this left side, homing attack the cannon, fall on top of this thin railing, and kick jump over to the platform before it rises too high. Okay, that's one step down, but that seems to be as far as we can get. These platforms are just too high to reach, and there's no more cannons nearby to lock onto. That's it. Screw it. Getting back into Egg Fleet, we can see that... Okay, so getting back to the fan section of Shadow and nailing the shortcut to the second platform, we can use a fun trick only possible on PC. Kick slide to reach top speed and jump just before hitting a vertical wall. Oh, that's right, you guys already know this because I showed it off in Bingo Highway. Yeah, I finished writing the script before I actually went back and did Bingo Highway on PC. Anyway, do the UABK again, paired with a tornado, and you can just barely reach the next platform. Well, that's nice, but we're still stranded here. There's no cannons close enough to reach just yet, but if we could somehow get a little more height, we may be able to reach the cannons up top. The only option left is to attempt the same jump against this wall. Unfortunately, this wall's over a bottomless pit, so if we mess it up and fall off, we have to start all the way back from the battleship. Team Dark is really trying my patience, but eventually, we were able to get some extra height and just barely reach the cannons with a tornado jump. This was scary enough, but now let's just watch me frantically struggle not to die to reach the next checkpoint. After that, it's pretty simple going. Make your way through the ships and reach the final propeller segment before landing on the final battleship. This one's trickier, as there's no proper way to scale this gap with Shadow. Just rocket excel jump to the far corner and lock onto the cannons with your tornado. After that, it's some pretty tight platforming to climb this section, only having one shot to get enough height from these enemies to get higher. Then, just make your way to the top, kill the Gundam Happy Meal toy enemy, both of them, and just like that, we beat Egg Fleet as Shadow only. Goodbye, PC port, I hope I don't have to see you again anytime soon. With Team Sonic, Final Fortress was barely passable as Sonic only, but it was thanks to the lightspeed glitch giving us just enough height to reach the top platform at the end. Since Team Dark can't perform that glitch, I knew I'd have to get creative. It might be possible as Shadow on the PC version, as you can gain extra height from the vertical walls, but I think we can make it with Rouge if we think outside the box. The first couple sections feel almost designed for Rouge, as you can fly to the top paths and slowly make your way through the corridors. We reach this section with the tornado poles, which, thanks to my speedrunning obsession with this level, I know you can skip the first rail with a flight character. Just time your flight boost well and thundershoot so that Rouge is alone and can land on the rail without the added height. Jump backwards, then move forward to get a running start before jumping off and flying at the last possible moment to give you just enough height and distance to cross. This is where you have to use your flight boost at the tail end of your flight meter, as your height cap is removed once the meter drains, and the upward momentum from the boost will carry over, giving you some extra height. If you jump to the rail, you can get just enough height to make it to the top of this wall. From here, we'll be using another glitch to gain extra height. If you perform the flight boost at the same frame as you touch the ground, you'll get the height from the boost and your flight meter will reset, allowing you to get just high enough to reach these platforms and make your way to the main path. You can fly your way to the lower path here, but I need to vent my frustration on this enemy, so we'll bonk him and use the added height to reach the path. This poor guy wasn't given a chance. What kind of cruel monster would perch him on top of this tiny platform all by himself? The lower path is pretty easy, and you can even skip this enemy by flying after hitting this spring before touching the ground. Team blast this armored enemy, and we finally hit our next checkpoint. So far, so good. The downside to grinding as the flight character is just how slow you are, meaning there's no chance of outrunning the lasers here. The upside is, well, you can just fly over them. Slow and steady really does win the race in this challenge, first with Robot Storm and now with Final Fortress. You can reach the top path here by jumping to this rail and grabbing the pulleys, and it's pretty easy to reach the end of the corridor with a well-timed flight. If we perform the flight boost glitch atop this block, we can actually reach the upper rail, giving us a much better vantage point for this next section. From here, just make your way down to the platform with the huge enemies and take a leap of faith. Now, all that's left is the final combat section. Instead of having to make insane, sketchy jumps with the lightspeed glitch and tornado, we can actually skip to the third platform by flying up after hitting this spring. All that's needed is enough height to reach the top platform and we should be in the clear. Luckily, the flight boost glitch will give us plenty of extra height, and while it's awkward to perform on this platform, not registering super easily because of the type of ground, it's still possible and allows us to reach the next platform. Now, just build a team blast and take out the final baddies. From here, it's a straight shot to the end. Just take your time and fly over the lasers. The final section's a bit hectic, but it's nothing that can't be achieved without a little patience. Just be sure not to forget about the Eggman eye laser, and it's a clear shot to the final goal ring, making Final Fortress possible as Rouge only. Okay, we already know the drill with the Egg Emperor. Grab both flight power-ups on the main path and spam this full to Kingdom Come. And yeah, I did attempt the floor is lava challenge for a grand total of 1 minute before realizing, yeah, that ain't happening with this one. What really hurts about this team is, despite being so similar to Team Sonic, the lack of lightspeed glitch and some slightly altered layouts made it, so far, the weakest team for this challenge. The salt in the wound is, with just how much extra work went in this one, especially with Casino Park, Rail Canyon, Bingo Highway, and Egg Fleet, just for the outcome to be so underwhelming. What really hurts most of all is the lack of Omega representation in this challenge. Omega's a standout character in this game, and I want to take a minute to appreciate him with some of his best quotes.
Beaten by fruits, how weak they must be. Worthless consumer models, you are weak. I am Omega, the ultimate E-Series robot. Cruiser battleship, destroyed. Suspicious group, destroyed. A troop of sentry robots, destroyed. Large weapon transporter battleship, destroyed. Group of shadow-like creatures, destroyed. Large ultimate battle robot, destroyed.
Well guys, I know a lot of y'all wanted me to treat Team Dark as the finale as they're the most difficult, but seeing as I knew their run would be the least successful, I wanted to get them out of the way before tackling Team Rose, who I'm sure will have some crazy glitches in their run. But that's not all. We'll be tackling the special stages and attempting to reach and defeat Metal Overlord without swapping as well, so our work isn't done yet. We may have hit some speed bumps along the way, but I'm still dead set to prove that the superpower of teamwork is overrated. And what better way to do that than by teaming up with other talented creators and with all of you lovely viewers. Together, we can overcome all the odds, and show the world that teamwork doesn't make the dream work. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end, and for watching me slowly lose my sanity with what's supposed to be my favorite game of all time. All the frustrations and challenge of these runs is a small price to pay for just how awesome this community is, and I'm glad I could make something entertaining for y'all. We've got one team left for this series, so let's see just how far this challenge can go. And if you haven't by now, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and checking out my other content. And remember, I'm not a Sonic channel. See you guys next time.